Hi, I'm Marie Elizabeth Molly, and this is Relationship Alchemy. Today, we're talking about how to keep the fun and flame going while you're building a six-figure business. My guest today is Nikki Bradley. She's a brand strategist who specializes in helping women entrepreneurs build their personal brand alongside their business brand so that they can bring out their biggest, baddest, dopest version of themselves, and they can show up as more of themselves to serve with more impact and sell with more confidence. She also works with organizations to empower their business leaders to become powerful brand ambassadors, positioning themselves as thought leaders and building their own personal brand. Hi, Nikki. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Marie Elizabeth. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to have this chat with you today because, well, we're in a mastermind together, and I just love your presence every time I see and feel you. And in particular, there was a video you shared a few months back of you and your husband, and it really caught my eye because I could feel just the love and playfulness and mutual enjoyment and friendship between the two of you. And I immediately knew I had to have you come on the show.
Well, the affection is mutual from me to you. We are in the mastermind together, and I have just enjoyed getting to know you more and more. That video, I have to tell you, I almost did not post it. I went back and forth about like, oh my gosh, should I put this out there for the world to see? And then I was like, I literally prayed about it because I was like, do I really want people to see that the video in question is of my husband and I when we were on a trip for his 50th birthday a few months ago. He's really into bourbon, and we took a trip to the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky, which is where the majority of all bourbon in the world is made. And so we had just gone to the first stop on that trip, and I did not know what to expect at a bourbon tasting, and had a little too much, let's just say. And my husband turned on the camera. So
it was delightful. Like, you have the cutest giggle. So for our listeners and watchers, if you're watching this on YouTube, Nikki has just the most delightful laugh. And I guess apparently the way bourbon hits your system, it makes you laugh.
That was the effect on me. So, but yeah, we just had it. Originally, the trip was supposed to be a group trip, and because of COVID, we decided to just be on the safe side and just make it a trip for the two of us. And I'm so glad that we did. We love doing couples trips together, but that was one where I got to experience one of his interests. And I think that's been one of the things that has kind of kept the flame going for us, and the fun is really kind of creating experiences with each other and embracing each other's interests. Yes, we have things that we do, individually, but honoring each other's interests. And this was kind of my opportunity to do that for him. So we're on this trip, and he's been talking about how much he likes bourbon. He enjoys it with his friends when we're at home. And normally I just kind of let them do their thing. So this was him kind of teaching me about it and just having fun with it. And so that video was us showing the world me having fun as I'm learning about it.
It was so beautiful. And I want to come back to the energy between you because you've been married for quite some time, right? How long have you been together?
17 years married, 19 years together.
Yeah. And to have that much playfulness and fun, and you can just feel as someone who's, around relationships all day long, I light up when I can feel a couple who genuinely enjoys each other's company. And that's really what came through, And so I'm curious about, say a little more about couples trips and how you honor each other's interests. Like, do you pick a trip and then he picks a trip? Do you co-create it? How do you navigate that together?
So We do couples trips all the time. We try to do at least one, if not two a year or more. And the good thing is we typically like going to the same types of places, but when we get there, we don't always like, we like to do sometimes different things. So he's a golf guy.
Oh, my
I
guy
like,
too.
yeah, I'm content laying on the beach all day. You get me near water, I'm good. He enjoys that, but he wants to do other things too. Like he loves to go and do like adventure things and put him on the golf course, and he's content for the whole trip. So we plan days where like you go do your thing, I'm going to do my thing. You know, if I want to do the spa for the day and you go do golf, that's our day to do that. I enjoy doing the adventure things too. Like if we're going to go zip lining or we're going to go horseback riding or ATVing, then we'll plan a day for that. And then, you know, we both enjoy the beach. So we'll do, you know, we'll have a couple water days and chilling days as well, because we just enjoy doing those things together, as you know. But we just kind of, we plan for that. And sometimes we'll do group couples trips too, because I think that that's been something that we've learned too, is making sure that we surround ourselves with other happily married couples. Happily being the key. Because unfortunately, you know, we have had friends who have had struggles and you know, may not have made it. And we just have to, for our own sanity and for our own keeping a protection around our own marriage, we have to keep ourselves surrounded by people who are having relationships that are like what we want to keep ours like. So, because, you know, you go through times when you may not like the person that much, or you're having an argument or whatever the thing is. And so if you're constantly around other people who are always in that state too, they're going to just feed into it. And whereas
start to collude with each other.
Right. So if you're having a thing in the moment, you know, you can come out of it a lot faster if you're around other people who are in a healthy, happy relationship. And because sometimes you need to vent to, or just be in the space of friends to help you when you're going through a moment. And if they're pouring into you and breathing life into your relationship versus somebody who is like pouring gasoline on it, you know,
exactly. Fueling the fire.
A big difference. Yeah, that makes a difference. Not like the fire flames that we're talking about, where you're trying to, you know, pour juices on it. Not that, but
not that fire,
not that kind of flame.
The fire, the destructive flame,
the destructive kind.
Yeah. No, beautifully said. So I want to really highlight that, because you know, there's that common saying of we are the sum total of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And I think as couples, we don't think about that enough, of who are we spending time with as a couple and how is that influencing our relationship? That's a really key point. Yeah. And actually having a group of friends that enhance your relationship, that where you all can feel good and lift each other up, is a really beautiful thing to make sure to have.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean that we don't have single friends. Like we do. Of course. Yeah. But we just monitor, like if we notice that we have friends that, you know, like their relationship is toxic, we're like, okay, we can't hang out with them regularly.
Like we're not going on a trip with them.
We can't do it. You know?
Yeah, I get that. I'd love to know, how is he also an entrepreneur? Like, are you both entrepreneurial? How does your work lives connect?
So he's in corporate. He's been in the entrepreneur space before, but he's much more of like a corporate guy. We call him my chief supporting officer. So he is very much like my cheerleader. I was talking to him actually today. He's traveling for work, and he's the main one, like shouting from the rooftops, like about my business to other people. So he is part of the marketing department, like unofficially. I don't So he was talking to
I
me
get
about,
that. Patrick does that too. Does he do it on the
yeah,
golf course? Because Patrick will tell people about my business on the golf course.
he does it everywhere. He does it on flights. He does it with his coworkers. He told me today he was talking to somebody that is on a project with him, and they were I think they had gone out on like a team dinner or something. And he just happened to be talking to somebody who is thinking about starting a business. And he was like, "Oh, you need to talk to my wife." Like, and he told me today that she was like, "I checked out your wife's Instagram. Oh my gosh, like she's a beast. I'm going to reach out to her."
That's amazing. That is fantastic.
So I've gotten clients from him, being the CSO.
The CSO. I'm going to tell Patrick that's his new title, CSO.
Yeah.
He does the same. So how have you navigated, because as entrepreneurs we have seasons that are incredibly busy and other seasons that are less busy, so if we're paired with someone who has a more steady, regular kind of situation, how do you navigate that with each other? I'm curious how that works.
In the beginning, it was a bit of a struggle because he would look at me kind of Netflixing or and kind of give me a side eye, especially, during COVID and he wasn't traveling. And so we would both be working at home. And so he would see me, because I manage my time, where if I time block, and we've learned this in our mastermind, where we focus on the things that are the most important during the day that really are going to move the needle. And then once those things are done, you're done for the day. And so he would see me, like I'd be done with what I needed to do for work for the day. And then I might take a nap, or I might go Netflix, or go get my nails done, or go get a massage. And he's, working late and on calls, with people on the other side of the world late at night. And I'm having a glass of wine outside. And so he'd be looking at me like, "For real? This is what we're doing? Like, can't you go get a job?" So that was a bit jealous. Of a transition. He was. And that was a bit of a transition for us. And especially, like, it was a bit of a trust fall for me too, because in the beginning, I had to trust that before I was making the money that I really wanted to make, I had to trust that what I was doing was enough, that it was going to come, but I had to hold the trust for me and also for him.
Was that something you actively communicated with each other about, or was that more about behind holding?
It was. We had to talk about it all the time, because he was not used to this type of a lifestyle, or this type of a change in me, because I had always been in corporate, and we both had really good paying jobs, and our, both making multiple, doing six figures and all of that in our jobs. And then you go from that to, in the beginning, I was not making that in my business. And so he's looking at me like, "Okay, when is this going to shift? Do you need to go back and get a job?" And I'm like, "No, it's coming. I know it's coming." And he's like, "Okay, well then shouldn't you be working like all night?" And I'm like, "No, that is counterintuitive. Like that's going to put me in a position of stress where I'm not going to get what I need to get."
Oh my God, say more about that, because I think all women need to hear this thing that you're saying, because we have this belief that we need to work harder.
Well, so I did at the beginning. And that was one of the things that when I first started the business, and I had the business, I was still in corporate. And actually at the time I was running 3 businesses. Oh my God. So I had 2 on my own, and I had a family business with my mom and my sister. And I was working full time. I was running a national sales team. I was traveling all over the country, and I had a small child.
Wow.
And I was like running myself ragged. And I actually ended up in the hospital. Like I started having mini strokes. I had TIAs. And one of the things that the doctor told me was that they couldn't pinpoint what started them or how long this was building up. But they were like, "You've got to eliminate stress, as much stress as possible." And I was like, how do you do that?
How do you do that? Look at my life.
How? But I remember laying there in the hospital and thinking like, something's got to change. This is not sustainable. So I closed one of the businesses. I told my family that I needed to change what my role was in the family business. And the business, the one that I have still now, I shifted how I was running it, because I was running in a way where I was waking up at like 4 a.m. to do that before I went into my 9 to 5. And I would work it until I absolutely had to be in the office. I would work it during my lunch hour. And then after I put my daughter to bed at night, I would work it until like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my God.
And that's what put me in the hospital. I believe with all my heart, that's what put me in the hospital. So I was like, I have to change this. This is not good for me or anybody else. And so that's when I started changing. I was like, I've got to find a way to serve my clients, to run my business that is going to remove the stress and give me more freedom, which is why I started the business in the first place. And if that means that I have to shut things off, like at a reasonable hour, took me a while to stop working weekends, but yeah, that's what I have to do.
Wow. And so, and what was happening with your relationship in this time? Because that must have been a big scare for both of you.
It was a big scare. And that's what I had to keep I think that was one of the things that helped him to trust me in the way that I was running it, because he remembered what put me in the hospital. And we both are people of faith. And so I had to be the one kind of holding the faith and reminding him at times. In the beginning. Now he's got it just as much as I do about it. Like, God didn't bring us here to just be like, oh, I told you this is what I want you to do, but good luck, go get them.
You're on your own.
Now you're on your own. Yeah. So he's like, no, like, I believe that this is what, you were called to do. So it's going to happen. And and it's been happening. So
that's fantastic. And so I'd love to bring in the parenting piece as well, because many of us are working. I don't have children, but about half my clients have children and half don't. And there's, being an entrepreneur, having a relationship you want to keep alive and nurture and have fun with, and being a mom. Say a bit about how you integrate all of that for you.
My daughter has made herself a part of the business. She thinks this is
her business. Say more.
She thinks this is her business. She knows every one of my clients. When I get a new one, she's like, she'll look at, like, I'll be doing a Zoom call and she's like, what's her name? I don't know her. If I'm doing a live, she will somehow make herself known on the live. You might see like part of a face start to come into the camera. You might see a hand start to come in. She wants you to know, like, this is not her show. This is my show. Like, I just want you to know. So yeah, she believes like this is hers too. She's very much a part of it. So, and she has been from the beginning.
That says so much. I mean, that you've made room for that, that you're not, I feel like one of the things, we have this erroneous idea that we can compartmentalize, like this part of my life should be over here. This, like, I'm in work mode. Okay. I'm in love mode. I'm in mom mode. But what we forget is we're all those things. And it's not like that part of us disappears when we're not currently in that role. It's all part of the flavors of us. And so what I love about that is that permission for the different flavors to be blended in a beautiful way.
When you said that, it just reminded me, I just did a live, I think it was the day before yesterday, and she was supposed to be getting ready for bed. And she knew I was going live, and she came into my office and she's in her PJs, and she came in and she just started talking to me in the middle of my live. And I was like it's on the video. And I'm like, ma'am, like you see what I'm doing right now, right? And I was like, can you just go get ready for bed? Like, so I'm literally having a conversation with her in the middle of the live. But I've gotten to the point now where I just show up as me. Like, this is a part of me. And it ties back to even, what we were talking about in the beginning with me sharing the video with my husband and I. That's part of me too. Like, and that was the struggle that I had in the beginning about whether or not even to share it. Because I was like, what will people think about, I'm a business coach, and I'm sharing this video of me having a little bit too much. And I also talk about the fact that I'm a Christian and, I'm a mom and all of these things. What does that say about me? All of those things.
Exactly.
Yeah. And my mom watches my feed. Now, my mom had seen the video and she cracks up, and she watches it repeatedly just to crack up. So I had all of those thoughts, but I was like, you know what? I teach people how to be authentically themselves. Yeah. I teach them about their messaging. I teach them how to show up as the biggest, baddest, dopest version of themselves. These are all pieces of me. So what does it say about me if I don't share this? Because that's a piece of me too. And if you're offended by me laughing and having fun with my husband for his 50th birthday, then you're probably not my people anyway.
Amen. It's so true. And I love how you articulated what you had to go through to get to the place, because it's so clearly part of your message, right? Is to be yourself, to show yourself, to let people feel and see you. I fell in love with you. I mean, we knew each other and I always liked you, but I saw that video and I was like, oh, she's a person, she's a person and she's having fun with her husband. Because I feel like sometimes as business women, we can have this idea that we're supposed to be buttoned up all the time, and this is true for relationship as well. Like anytime we are thinking we have to be a certain way to have the thing, then the thing we're attracting is not going to be fully right because it's being attracted to a persona.
Yeah.
And so how did is there a pivotal moment, or has it just been more of a gradual unlayering or unfolding, coming from corporate into your own business, specifically around branding and being yourself? Was there a moment where you recognized like, oh, I have to take off the suit, like I have to take off the business?
It has definitely been an unlayering, like a peeling the onion back. I think the best way to see it is if you look at like my social media feed, the lives that I used to do, I look at some of them and like, I thought I had to have this perfect background behind me I remember I took this course and it was teaching you how to do live videos. And so I thought that I had to have, like, I built my own background. It was like, I went to the hardware store. I bought this big piece of plywood. I covered it with the faux, you remember when people used to use like it looked like faux shiplap or something like that.
Oh, yes.
So I put that behind me and I was like, that's not even me. Like, that's not me. But I put that behind me.
Really?
Right. So if you look, like, you can go back like a couple years and look at my feed, and I had all these videos with that behind me. I had these like pretty flowers, like I'm not even like a flowery girl. That's not me. All these things. And I still was wearing like my corporate silk blouses and all of this stuff. All of that. So it was like an evolution where I started like wearing brighter lipsticks. Like, I'm not wearing it today, but you see, I still got mine. Like, I got to have something.
You have something.
I have to have something.
Right.
And now you look at my feet and I'm wearing thigh-high boots, like multicolored boots.
Those boots are fierce. I love those boots.
Let's talk about boots, ma'am, because
point taken, point taken.
Yes.
Nikki encouraged me to get this. We were at Louboutin together and we both bought some really wonderful things.
Yes, we did. And you bought some amazing boots.
Well, thank you for the encouragement. So I feel like I want to move toward your relationship again in some way, but I don't know how. Is there anything? I'm feeling a pull toward the relationship, but I don't know what I want to ask.
Well,
is there?
I'll tell you this. Yeah. So I told my husband that I was doing this today, and he was like, "Oh, is this the interview like from the Bourbon Trail video?" And I was like, "Yes." I was like, "It's with Marie Elizabeth." And so we were FaceTiming because I was showing him, we're having work done on our house today. And I was showing him, the work that they were doing. And he was like, "Babe, turn the camera so I can see you." And I was like, "Oh, okay, sir."
Oh, yes.
So I turned the camera so he could see me. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I like the earrings." He's like, did you you did the makeup today too? I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Mm-hmm." He's like, "I'll be home in a few days." He's like, I need that look when I come home." I was like, "Yes, sir."
That is so hot. And the response is so hot. I love that.
So he travels a lot for work, but we make sure that we FaceTime every day.
Yeah.
We FaceTime with our, so that he can see our daughter, and we FaceTime just me and him too. But that's a part of it. We were talking about the, keeping the fun and the flame. That's it.
Yeah.
And it's still the playful, and I think that was one of the things that, when we first met, and we met on a blind date, our first date, I tell people all the time, I was like, "Oh, he was cool. We'll just be friends." And the second date, he cooked for me. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, he might be baby daddy." But it started with a friendship. We talk all the time about everything. Our first date, we sat and talked about all the stuff that you're not supposed to talk about, on a date. We talked about kids. We talked about faith. We talked about politics. We talked about, marriage, all of the stuff you're not supposed to talk about. And we were at a club, basically, we sat and talked. And I think we danced to 2 songs, and we both dance.
So I was going to say that worked, right? The dance was good.
Yeah. So I grew up a dancer. We've talked about this. Yeah. And
I did too. Yeah. That's so important.
And he dances.
I mean, and to me, if you can move well together, it bodes well for a lot of other things.
It sure does.
So I love that you bring the friendship piece in, because this is someone you're going to be spending a lot of your time with for the hopefully, God willing, for the rest of your life, right? So having a foundation of friendship, and then also being able to dance together and have fun and play, feels so key to the whole thing.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that you're like, "Oh yeah, we'll be friends. Oh, he cooks."
That's important. Now, ask me how much he cooks now. Once we got married and he found out that I can cook, because I didn't cook until after we got married for him. Yeah, he still can. He does every now and then, but I love to cook, so I'll take it.
Yeah, it's like a division of labor in a way, right?
Yeah.
When once you get into it, it's which if he's traveling all the time, it makes sense.
But he does wash the dishes. That was our agreement. If I cook, I can't go to bed with dirty dishes in the sink. And I told him that is the best foreplay in the world. You wash the dishes, and that gets me all
oh, yes.
Yes.
It's amazing how that happens in longer relationships. The things that these little things. I mean, if Patrick, fixes Patrick just, my computer died last week and had to be sent out for repair the day, like literally the night before I flew out of town for a speaking gig. So I didn't have a computer that whole time. And when I got back to town, I found out that the computer was completely wiped and had to be restored. And we had to figure out how to do that between two countries and where was the backup. And anyway, it all worked out. But yesterday he was able to restore a backup that we found onto the computer. And it's just, my electronics work around him. They often do not work around me, but they work around him. And that little thing just becomes such a hot, it's like so hot that he can make my electronics work. Oh, Lord.
It does. So it frees up your mind to be able to think about other things.
Yeah. Well, other things and what I'm actually good at.
Yeah.
So this is something he's natively good at. And it's not necessarily something that I'm natively good at. And so it frees me to focus on what I'm really good at. It's one of the ways that he's my CSO, my chief supporting officer. When my electronics fry in my presence, I sort of throw them at him and he grounds them. He talks to them nicely. He fixes them. They respond. They work well around him. And then he gives them back to me. It's like, what can I say? I'm very electric. What can I say? So if someone wanted to learn more about your work and working with you, and, if they're as delighted with you as I am, and they want to learn how to be expressed and playful and present and gorgeous like you, how would they learn more about that?
They can go to my website. It's nikkibradley.net, 2 Ks and an I, or they can go to my Facebook page. That's where I hang out the most. And the easiest way to do that is go to nikkibradley.net/FB for Facebook. And take you
Great. That's easy.
Yeah.
And in the show notes, we have a free gift for y'all. It's a masterclass that you can just scroll down in the notes and click on and enjoy Nikki's masterclass that she's giving you all. And I'm wondering if you have any final word to share anything you want folks to think about or something.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, like we've been talking about, like, keeping the fun and the flame. I think the biggest thing is just being intentional about it. It's so easy, especially I know for me, as we've been, and this, like building a business, it's so easy to keep your head down and you set these goals of things that you want to do. And whether it's building a business or whatever it is that you get focused on during the day, that you sometimes forget about your partner. And that's exactly what they are. They're your partner. You're not doing it by yourself. And so being intentional about, this is the person I chose to do life with. And so every day, like thinking about what can I do to make sure that that person knows that I'm choosing them. I'm choosing them as the person that's my partner for, that I want to support in what's important to them too. That I want to laugh with, that I want to, have experiences with, that I want as the person that gets me all juicy, like they're the person. I'm choosing them. I'm being intentional about it every day. And we don't always, we're not always going to hit the mark every time, but just thinking about that, like being conscious of it, and we're going to get better at it.
Beautifully said. Thank you. So everybody, that is the incomparable and wonderful Nikki Bradley. And go check out her stuff. Get yourself a beautiful brand and authentic presence online if you're an entrepreneur or you're a person in a company who is the face. Nikki would be a great person to talk to. So thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's just been so great. I could talk to you forever. So
likewise, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you bet. And until next time, remember that a great relationship starts with you.